Hear me? Yeah? Okay. I am here today to talk to you about being unschooled. What is being unschooled? Being unschooled means you study what you want to study, when you want to study it, how you want to study it. Sounds pretty good, right? Yeah? Now, so essentially this means that unschoolers do whatever they want all day. Now, does this mean that they end up uneducated? I'm going to argue that no, they do not. Okay? Now, when I tell someone I'm unschooled, there's 3 questions they usually ask me. The first has to do with self-discipline. How do you keep from snacking and playing video games all day? Well, I think we all face dilemmas like this, choosing between short-term and long-term pleasures. Like, should I eat this Twinkie or not? Okay? Now, we can avoid giving into immediate pleasures like that if we keep a view of the big picture. And with unschooling, it's the same thing. Doing unschooling well means establishing your long-term goals and your dreams, then figuring out how it is you're going to achieve them, and setting up systems of accountability to help you along the way. And this is how unschoolers avoid eating the Twinkie, so to speak, okay? The second thing people want to know, they ask me about socialization. How do you meet girls, and won't you end up one of those weird homeschool kids? Well, I think some unschoolers may end up unusual, but I also sort of think that's the point, to be a little different. The fear behind these questions is that by being unschooled, a young person will become unable to interact with others, and this doesn't have to be true. Although I admit it can be scary, and sometimes it can be hard having to get to know people in a setting outside of school, I've found that once you get the hang of it, it also becomes freeing. I found that outside of school, there's no one keeping track of my social missteps. People are nicer, and in general, they're just more sane. Also, it's a mistake to think that simply going to school is the cure to all of our socialization ills. I submit to you that the rigidity of it and the superficiality of interaction there is often the cause of some of these issues. It certainly was for me. And then there's college. How do you get into college if you just do whatever you want all day? Well, surprisingly, most schools are not biased against unschoolers. Most of them want you to send a list of the things you've done, the things you've read, and test scores. Some schools may also want you to take additional tests, like the SAT subject test, and they may also want you to submit additional letters of recommendation. Basically, without a standard transcript, unschoolers have to work a little harder to prove that they have the equivalent of a high school education. But you see, unschoolers have an advantage in applying because we've done really cool extracurricular things. We have discovered what it is we want to do, and we've begun pursuing those things. We are self-motivated, and we are possessed with a genuine love for learning. And this is what schools look for in applicants. Also, because an unschooler will know what it is he or she wants to do, when they get to college, it'll be relevant to them, not just another ride in the education conveyor belt. And this clear direction will allow unschoolers to get the most out of college possible. Now, because people are so varied, unschooling can literally take on an infinite number of different forms. So I'm going to share with you real quick just a few of the things I've been able to study while being unschooled. I trained capoeira, which is a Brazilian martial art from which I learned the value of self-discipline. I learned that I really love teaching. And I learned to be good at something, it's not about how much natural talent you have when you start it, but it's about how much work you put into it. I was terrible at it when I started. I also was able to intern at a university research museum where I worked with the body, I dismembered the bodies of dead rats, lizards, wolves, and various animals, and I extracted their DNA to be used in graduate thesis projects. From this, I learned a lot of biology, but also that, I don't want to be a geneticist at all. Does this sound like school to you guys? Yes? Okay, well. I also was able to work at a multimedia project called Generation Justice, where I was a part of a weekly radio show that focused on social justice issues that have to do with youth. Issues like the state of our juvenile prison system. And I met some of the people trying to solve these issues. I also learned interviewing and technical skills that actually allowed me to go on and host my own weekly radio show, which was awesome. And I'm now interning at the Muse Writer Center, where I'm taking poetry, fiction, and improv classes. And I'm meeting some really cool, really talented, amazing people, and I'm getting to work with a lot of them. And that's actually how I ended up here today. I pursued interests in Arabic, philosophy, history, literature, more, all in cool ways. Being unschooled does not mean being uneducated. It means acquiring your education in a personalized and self-led way. Okay, now, I will say, there's one thing I had to do while being unschooled. I had to do math, at least up to pre-calculus. Why? Well, because my mom made me. Yeah. So, but you see, unschooling is based on this really cool concept that when given freedom and time, young people will gravitate towards their interests, and in the process, they will acquire their education, and in a way that is natural, meaningful, and enjoyable. I've just been following my interests, and as you can see, I've studied PE, I've studied science, social studies, and writing, all in intensive ways. Unschooling is learning through life, not learning to live. Unschooling gave me motivation to learn. I developed intense interests, tried them out, and in the process, I learned in a way that meant something to me. And I've also had time to discover what it is I want to do. I want to be a writer, I want to be a philosopher, and I want to be a teacher. And I have this amazing opportunity to spend every single day working towards those goals now. If the purpose of education is to prepare the student for a productive future, then I think, as my experience shows, this can be accomplished through unschooling. Thank you very much.